Hey guys, it's Kendrick from Providence. I'm here to bring you I'm sorry, I'm opening it like this. I'm moving this thing, this ottoman. I need it to put the cards on. But, welcome to October. Welcome to Libra season. I happen to have my birthday on Thursday, which was October 1st. It was amazing. The weather was perfect. I felt great. It was a beautiful day in the neighborhood. So let me go ahead and get to the reading. I'm just going to go ahead and do a collective reading, in regards to now and the energy surrounding the full moon. It's definitely like 2 days after, right, the full illumination. So the moon has moved on, but a lot of things have happened. There have been some crazy developments, and even leading up to the actual full moon in Aries, there was a lot going on, with the Supreme Court Justice RBG and everything like that, right? So how is it affecting you? If you're a Libra, this is a very important video or reading for you just because it's happening in your 7th house of relationships, which, that's naturally the placement that you like to be in as a Libra. Anyway, let me just read these cards. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to shuffle it. Some new beginnings, having to let some things go, right? Having to learn some lessons of ego, but like the emotional ego, right? And also, right, look, okay, which is the Emperor, which is the ego. 10 of Cups, definitely emotional. And having to like sacrifice parts of yourself in order to ultimately cultivate some new beginnings or move in the direction that you want, I feel like a lot of people are making changes. Um, some people are even like changing their beliefs, or some people's beliefs are being challenged, or they're challenging the beliefs of other people. You know, people's perspectives are shifting a lot, changing. Some people's are not, right? Oh my god. Okay, so let me go ahead and lay these cards out. Cutting the deck. And take what resonates, leave what doesn't, because all of this isn't going to resonate with everybody who's watching this video in the same way. Okay, so now the cards are cut. I'm going to lay them out. I'm going to try to make the reading about 30 minutes long, and we're starting at about 3 minutes in once these cards are all laid out. So I'll let you know that in the description. There we go. Okay, so we're pretty much at 3 minutes right now. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Emperor. In this deck, the Druid Craft Tarot, it's called the Lord. So this is about self-assertion, okay? It's about fortitude and strength in some kind of way, and completion. What makes you complete? What do you want? What are you focused on? Right? That type of thing. And what's going to bring you security, right? And this is kind of like self-actualization is actually going to bring you the security that you need. You need to exercise the frontal lobe. Maybe you need to just kind of get moving, get started, because this is the first sign of the zodiac, the first zodiacal energy. So it's like being self-sufficient, right? Self-reliant as well. And this is also what you doing what you choose to do, just going for something, not even hesitating. This could be dealing with like maturity, you know what I mean? So a situation may have matured. You may have emotionally matured or moved on from something, right? And that's what the Emperor is. It's a mature version of yourself, ourself, right? And it's related to the 4th house of Cancer, which is dealing with emotions, okay? And it's also dealing with the connections to the past, and any connection that you have to the past would have to do when you were younger. So when your perspective was different, and when you didn't experience some of the things that you were destined to in order to change your perspective, right? Or change your perception of the way you thought things were, or challenge your beliefs and make you come to a decision or come to a place, right, in your life where your belief systems change just because you had more experience, all right? So this is talking about how you've changed over time, 4th house, and due to that, experience has happened and it's caused you to mature Emotionally and physically. Some of you are undergoing like physical changes too. I know I have. I'm still going. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at what's going on. Oh, and also like the leader, right? The executive, okay? Which is the emperor, which we know what happened around the time of the full moon, right? And here we go. The strength card just kind of like fell out because it wanted to. But this is talking about containing your emotional anxiety or anger, right? Because anger can be emotional, and this could also even be aggressive physical action too, right? So don't be passive aggressive, because sometimes passive aggressiveness can actually be forcing something in still. You know what I mean? So let's not be passive aggressive. Let's not say things with too sharp of a tongue, right? The sword is laying down, okay? And it's time to actually be more supportive than we are divisive, that type of thing in your life. You know what I mean? With the people that you know. And this is also trying to motivate you and trying to encourage you to stay within your own personal strength and power, you know, because this is related to the 8th house of Scorpio, but then it also is you know, Leo, you know, achieving a sense of emotional balance within oneself, or maintaining a sense of balance within oneself by managing your emotional response and also measuring how you respond physically to something, right? You can control yourself. You can't control others, but you definitely can control yourself. Hi, and that's what we have to remember, right? Thank you for joining us. And also, here's another 8. It's kind of like focus on what's making you feel productive, right? 8th house here, which is Scorpio. What makes you feel productive? What makes you feel powerful? It's doing the work, focusing on you, right? All of those things, okay? So I'm not doing any personal questions right now. I'm actually just doing the reading. But yeah, you know, this is Sun in Virgo. So some of you may have made some kind of proclamation back in Virgo season, maybe a few weeks ago, okay? And you wanted to assert yourself in some kind of way. You wanted to create more abundance for yourself, and not by way of relying on other people, because this is definitely a sense of self-reliance as well, you know, and motivation that comes from a sense of pride through your motivation, right? Your self-actualization, right? And it's also like the strength to carry on, and the strength and the belief in oneself to keep it moving regardless of what happens, right? This is agility, mental agility, and also, you know, physical too, because it's pentacles. So it's like, how can you make your money work for you? How can you make the best of your resources? You know, there's some planning and some changing of habits that actually can be done, because this is an 8. It's talking about what you can do, not what you can't do, because it's about adapting to your reality. And that's how you feel powerful, when you are able to adapt to your reality and create changes within that reality that you're adapting to be able to change, shift, transform it into what you want it to be, right? Which is still related to that 8th house, and still related to Leo, and still related to Virgo. Okay? So let's look at what's challenging that, you know? What's influencing that? Perfect. This is really good, you guys, because we have the Lord, which is the Emperor, at the bottom of the deck, which is talking about self-assertion, self-reliance, right, and maturity. And then we have the reading opening at the center. The moment right now, we're thinking about money. We're thinking about longevity as well. You know, we are also thinking about sustainability, and sustainability comes from adaptability, because sometimes things have to change, they have to transform, and we have to mature into our lives and into what we're destined to become, right? Because the 8th house is talking about transforming and becoming something. So we have to use our weaknesses, we have to turn our pain into strength. Our pain is our power, our weakness is our strength, right? So you have to be willing to explore those things so that you can discover for yourself what it is that needs to be diagnosed, and then what needs to be adjusted, or what needs to be, you know, understood, and then what needs to be adjusted, right? Because we're not trying to diagnose ourselves, right? And here we go with the 6 of Pentacles crossing the 8 of Pentacles, and this is talking about what comes from doing the work, what comes from believing in yourself, what comes from knowing that no one else can provide what it is that you can provide. See what I mean? And that Leo energy, that strength energy, is kind of like related to the sense of being a provider. And so is the Scorpio energy because it's shared resources. The second house is earned income. The eighth house is shared resources, you know? So we're thinking about shared resources here for sure. Producing more of that, right? Okay, and here we go again with another shared resource kind of energy because it's the sixth house, which is Virgo. That's the dog she's being fed. Okay, Moon and Taurus, this one right here. Very much like pets, right? They just wait around to be fed and taken care of. So this is saying that, like, yeah, you're in a moment where you're like really ready, and the challenge and the influence is like, I want security. I want emotional security. I want financial security. I want security in my body, health, all around, you know. And this is talking about the physical payoff from, you know, work that comes to you, right? You've evolved into like being able to manage your money and your time a little bit better now because you've had to go through this challenge of doing that which you didn't think that you could do. You know, you didn't think that you could kind of like make your money work for you in the way that you've made it work for you, but you have. So now you've matured in a way where you're like, oh, well, I can kind of like manage my money a little bit better, you know, with whatever has been going on for you, right? Because some people are struggling and some people are actually making some changes happen in their life that they've needed to happen for a long period of time, right? Been waiting for some things. And whatever it is that you guys have been keeping busy trying to produce in your life, that's going to bring you some security, okay? It wasn't for naught, you know, it was worth it, right? So the Six of Pentacles says that something is coming in as the immediate influence that's saying something has been worth it all this time, right? Because the moon, time, and the Taurus, worth, okay? Ooh, I heard right. So in the past, we have the Two of Swords, which is the moon, and Libra, that's recent past, okay? And we're also thinking of changes that come from making decisions, definitive decisions, okay? With this Two of Swords being here. Moon again in Libra, which is ruled by Venus just like Taurus, but this is a 2 related to the second house. So, right, thinking about how you can make some changes to how you approach, how you think about money, how you access parts of yourself that you haven't been able to before that you can now. You know, it's like in this moment you're able to make choices and decisions that you haven't been able to make before. You know what I mean? And you have a responsibility to make changes where changes are needed because the moon needs, and Libra definitely always this energy, and the twos, which is kind of like Gemini, need to make changes, right? Because we can get bored with the ways that we've always thought to do things, and we can start to realize that things aren't changing for us in the ways that we've wanted them to, or we just never had the opportunity, right? Because it's related to like, it's weird, it's like Jupiter growth, right? So it's kind of like you made a decision for personal growth, right? Inner growth, spiritual growth, which comes in all different forms, which comes from all different directions. And this is also perspective that comes over time that allows you to make those difficult decisions that you probably weren't able to before, right? And it's also saying don't spend too much time trying to make a decision or decide what to do. Just kind of like go for it. You know what I mean? And sometimes you can see what happens, right? Because sometimes you're making a decision between two things that aren't actually, you know, it's not one thing is good and one thing is bad, right? It's just kind of like, you know. Anyway, yeah, the Six of Swords is saying that you're moving on past the point of conflict in terms of like your beliefs being challenged by the beliefs of others, or the way that you communicate not being the ways that other people communicate, or what you think is important to talk about may not be the same things that other people think are important points to make. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you're being more of a free thinker here. This is Mercury in Aquarius, which is talking about, you know, innovation and thinking in a rebellious way. So it's kind of like, I'm going to go in my own direction. I'm going to go, you know, I'm going to take this course of action, I guess you would say. But a different course of action and a different perspective, you know? And it's kind of like mental maturity, okay? It's after the Five of Swords, but Aquarius comes um, after Capricorn. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like letting go of an old way of thinking. You know what I mean? It's like the old way of thinking is behind you. That's what's driving you, the old way of thinking. But it's kind of like the new you, the fresh take on life is driving you, right? It's like you're operating from a place of experience, right? Because Capricorn comes from that place of experience, and right after it is Aquarius, which is that what this card is. That's what this card is. So it's like you're operating from a place of experience, but you're hopeful for something new, for a new experience. And this could even be talking about friends as well. That's the dog. Hold on 1 second. She wants to come in. It's fine. Hi. Now I'm gonna leave you in here with me. I'm gonna leave you in here with me. Okay, I'm sorry, you guys. So yeah, that it has to do with friendships as well. You know what I mean? And changing your patterns, changing your habits, right? In terms of like friendship and how you spend your time and how much of your time you give to a cause. You know, because Aquarius is the humanitarian, right? And it talks about you know, just being human and having the experience to know when things need to change. Okay? So let's also look at the moon position, Ten of Cups. So this is, you know, Ten of Cups is Pisces, but this is Mars and Pisces. And it's Mars being in its 12th house of like undoing and sacrifice and submission and, you know, the subconscious and all of that. So once Mars has gotten around to Pisces, it knows a lot more. So it's willing to sacrifice. It's willing to love. It's willing to let go of old constructs or old ideas that have held us back emotionally, right? Old ideas that don't allow us to detach from what we valued, right? And what we attach those old ideas to, you know? So it's kind of like you kind of have to let go of your ego, you know, and that's what the Ten of Cups is saying here in the moon position, right? Let go of your ego in order to heal, right? And you know, you don't have to do that like with people and let people treat you how they want to without fighting back or without standing up for yourself. That's not what I mean by letting go of the ego. Letting go of the ego means don't fight how you're being taught in the spiritual lessons. Don't fight the spiritual lessons that you're learning. You know, in whatever scenario, situation you're in, there is definitely something to learn. You know, it is karmic because you're there in the situation. You can't not be the father of the children, you know, or you can't not be like um, the the mother of that person's children or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like you can't break those ties, right? Familial ties. So it's kind of like you have to heal from things, the impressions that have been made on you from like your experience dealing with family, dealing with everything, right? Um, failed goals, all of that shit. So it's kind of like you have to be willing to let go of the things that you held so dear to you in order to experience what you're destined to actually become, right? It's like more, right? You're more than you thought you could be, right? Especially because like Pisces is like I'm the last sign, like I'm tired. But then Mars being there is like, oh, you gave me energy. Oh, right, like that type of thing. And it's kind of like it's almost kind of like a downplayed judgment card in a sense, because the judgment card is 2, which refers back to the high priestess, which is the major arcana card number 2, and being that this is um you know, Pisces, that 10 reduces to a 1, which is like the first house. So it really is kind of like that, you know, putting the will, the energy, the drive, the intention into, you know, going beyond your limits of what you thought you could do, become, or, you know, feel, right? Anyway, all right, word. That's great because the sun is talking about going past your limits or going past your limitations, okay? And this is in the anxieties, but this is really great in this reading, particularly because the Ten of Cups is in the moon position and the sun is in the anxieties. And both of these cards are very good, although they're in positions where it's kind of like the moon is like, oh, and the anxieties are based on like the moon. Sometimes they kind of like, there's this interplay just because it's like Gemini Cancer, right? They're kind of adjacent. Anyway, it does talk about emotional growth here with this, right? Because Mars definitely matures in Pisces. It has compassion, understanding. And the sun is like, yes, putting emphasis on that, saying like, yeah, you need to heal. You need to spend some time alone with yourself so you can do more of that actualizing, right? It's having a new joy for life. It's having a new passion for life. It is also feeling transformed in a way just because the sun card goes from 1 to 9. So it's kind of like a sense of completion here. So yeah, you are leaving behind an old version of yourself. You're wiser from it, you know, and you're moving closer towards, you know, your destiny. Or there's just a new beginning for you here because the sun is 19, right? Rounding it out full circle. I feel like you've had some full circle life events that have taken place spiritually and psychologically, maybe even physically for some of you. You might find yourself in different places, or you might find yourself like maybe you happen to be a mother for the first time and you gave birth during the pandemic. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. Um, let's see, in the Mars position, you have the Five of Wands, and the Five of Wands is like feeling like you're being held back or restricted by other people that you associate yourself with because they're trying to compete with you, or you might just be feeling this competitive energy around you when you're around other people. I'm gonna let her out now. Hi, I love you. Okay, there you go. There you go. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. So yeah, the Five of Wands does talk about um, challenges that we face when dealing with other people who aren't willing to allow themselves to be challenged by others because their egos are too big or are too strong, right? But maybe you are learning to exercise a more healthier ego or a healthier ego than the one that you had before because the sense of self that you had before may have been based on limitations that other people may have placed upon you, or just because you feel like you've always had to fight to get noticed or to become something, or like, you know, get what you want, or you know, that type of thing. But you don't have to compete. You don't have to fight with other people. You have to just be the best version of yourself that you can be. And then it's like, it's kind of like you're not competing with other people, you're competing with yourself. So just make sure that you always remember that, right? And also for a lot of people, this Five of Wands could be, you know, struggles that might be happening in the workplace, you know? And you might be frustrated, some of you, because like the boss doesn't see what's going on or the boss might be frustrated because they see what is going on, but just make sure that you take yourself out of it. Don't get caught in the drama of other people, and don't get involved in situations that you probably shouldn't at work. Um, yeah, and this could also like be family situations, right? Saturn is 7 houses from where it wants to be here, so it is talking about relationships and competitive relationships that are taking place, and they might be interfering with your personal um, potential, you know? So just don't even get involved with drama and nonsense with other people. Right, exactly. Don't get involved in the drama. Don't get involved in the nonsense. Detach from what you know you should. Don't spend time in an environment that isn't, benefiting you or adding to, some aspect of your, I don't know, um, your life, right? If it's not bringing any progress into the job or into the relationship or into the environment, this could be like, I've mentally deteriorated from this, or I've already thought that this was kind of like over, or I'm trying to search for a new job, right? Some of you might even be looking for a new job that's gonna be more of a good fit for you just because it's Saturn and it's a 3, so it talks about growth and searching, right? Um, but yeah, it's searching for the truth, right? And it's feeling pressure to know the truth, right? What does someone think in this situation? What is their perspective? Because it's Saturn in Libra, which is exalted, and it's like a 3, so it's thinking about the responsibility that everyone has to relate to each other in a meaningful way, whatever that is. It's like you can't expect people to read your thoughts. But usually when I get this card, it's kind of like you're in a situation where you kind of know what's going on. The truth is there. You have enough information. You may not have all of the information, like the Four of Swords, but you have enough information to determine what choices you have to make or what direction you can go in. It's like knowing what your options are in a situation that you feel contractually maybe bound to, right? So you may feel like you can't get out of a situation where you feel like you're being treated unfairly, or you feel like the conditions have been set up so that it's like unfair in some kind of way. You know what I mean? And that could have to do with like finances because it's Saturn and it talks about money. And it's a 3, so it's related to Venus, which is like Taurus and Libra. So it might even be talking about value. It's like I don't think I value this relationship the same way anymore. I don't think the same positive thoughts about this anymore. I think I spent enough time relating to this. It's not changing, because it's air, it's swords, okay? And it's Saturn. So Saturn rules an air sign, which is Aquarius. So that's kind of like something not changing, you not getting it. But then Saturn is pressuring you to see where you can be adaptable. You can practice some kind of like mutability here and change it, because you do have um the ability to. I don't know. It's an oppressive environment. It's a mentally oppressive environment that you kind of like want to escape from. For some of you all, maybe even in a relationship. It could be friendships too, just because. Okay, so the Four of Cups is here, and the outcome and the energy moving forward, and this is Moon in Cancer, and the Moon will next be in Cancer in January when we have a full moon then. I don't know why that's coming up, but there could be like some changes that happen at that time. You know, maybe some of you are afraid of that time. Maybe that could be like the extension for the rent, just because this is a 4 and it's related to like home and stuff like that. Um, Maybe you guys are thinking about where you might be moving to in January. Maybe your lease might be up in that time. The Four of Cups is also talking about how you might be feeling emotionally fixed, stuck, stagnant, and you're not doing anything to pull yourself out of this slump, you know? Or you could just be letting your emotions kind of weigh you down a little bit. It's also kind of subconscious too, because you might just be going through the motions and you don't realize how like humdrum things might be. Or maybe maybe you're like, oh, I'm feeling so blah, or like, yeah, this could be depression, right? Which is keeping some people held back from moving forward, right? But the Lord, the Emperor card is at the bottom of the deck saying, no, keep some level of um, confidence, I guess, about yourself, you know. And this does have to do with like emotional confidence, or maybe like eroded confidence. Yeah, so sometimes our emotions will erode our confidence and they kind of like create some blockages for us. But you have to be aware of that, process it, for what it's worth, and realize that like your emotions aren't necessarily always the truth. You know what I mean? Because you could be focusing on something else that is, not even worth it. The real truth is here. You yourself can pull yourself out of it. Just like do something, get started. That's what this is talking about, getting started in some kind of way to heal. Yeah. Hey, I said get started healing, right? Whatever it is that you need to do, you have to also make a choice, right? You have to stand up for what you want out in life. And if you want to make a change, or if you want to feel differently or feel better about a situation, then you move, you change cities, right? You change jobs, you take up a new hobby, you know what I mean? You do something that's worth doing. Don't waste your time pondering, wondering, wishing, being emotionally complacent when it's not actually giving you what you want. And I said, get started, right? Get started healing. Focusing on yourself is also going to bring you more emotional satisfaction, right? Because this could be you focusing on the emotions that have been, the emotional impressions that have been made on you from the wheel or by the will of others, okay? And then it's kind of like, just forget about that. Don't forget about it, but don't let it stop you, right? Whatever that is. Let's see. Right. Okay, so here we have the Hangman here, which is Neptune, and it's talking about, compassion. It's a higher octane of Venus. But when I look at this card, it talks about like learning your lesson, because it is a 3, right? So it's related to the 3 of Swords here and any other 3 that would come up, right? So it's like I learned my lesson in this relationship, right? I learned my lesson in terms of like what I'm willing to sacrifice, what parts of myself I'm willing to give away, and you have to ask yourself, am I doing what God or what Spirit wants me to do? Or am I doing what God or Spirit needs me to do. Sorry. So the threes are needs and the fours are wants. The threes are Venus, Neptune, and Saturn. You know what I mean? And this three is saying like you need to do what you know you have to do in your relationships or in your job. And this is saying you've sacrificed enough of your time, you know? You've given up enough of your love, your compassion, you know, your consideration for something, and maybe you feel like you were burned by something. Some of you. Some of you feel vulnerable, exposed, right? Think about what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're willing to give up in order to have what it is that you need. You know, sometimes we might be willing to ignore certain things so that we can have an experience. And in the moment, that experience is great and it feels good, and when we're, you know, in it to win it. But then something, you know, could change. And we realize that we're in a place, in an environment, in a situation, in a headspace, right? In a feeling, in existence of not feeling safe. So you've learned your lesson in terms of giving up those parts of yourself, right? That people are willing to take advantage of. You know, you learned your lesson. I won't be taken advantage of anymore. I won't be told what to think anymore, because that gets me into situations where I feel like bamboozled or, you know, played in some kind of way, maybe even disrespected, or, you know, I was too nice, you know, like that type of thing. Also, just like, you know, because this is Pisces, right? You learned your lesson. Now we're in that Aries energy at the bottom of the deck that we started with. You know, a lot of readers read the bottom of the deck last, right? So if I would have read the bottom of the deck last, it would have been the Hanged Man, right? At the top of the reading, which is like what we're rising into. It's like having compassion for the ways that people may have hurt you, or also for the ways that like you couldn't control a situation or what happens. Because the Hanged Man kind of like let things get out of control, and just understand that sometimes things do get out of control. You have to have compassion for people also when they let things get out of control. If there's like a mental health issue, or if there's like an addiction or something like that, you always have to remind yourself that like put yourself in their shoes too, right? That's what the Hangman is, because it's Neptune, higher octane of Venus, compassion. Put yourself in this person's shoes, right? And that's why the cross is there too, in the legs. So yeah, compassion. Being willing to let go of, you know, the younger version of yourself. The immature ways of thinking. How we may have adopted a, you know, mindset that might have been taught to us from other people, and now we're basing our, you know, search for knowledge on what we want to know and not what people just are choosing to tell us. For ourselves, you know, in life, for you, you know. This is just a random reading for whoever gets a message from it, you know? Time to go in a new direction, definitely. And you realize that in your recent past. The sun is in the hopes and fears, hopes, fears, anxieties, you know? But it's a sun card. So it's saying like, you know, you don't have to be intimidated by this new beginning that's taking place, because you're ready, because it's going to show you a different side to life that you have yet to experience. You know, it's going to pull you away from the things that, you know, you don't necessarily deserve to be around, the people, the, you know, any of that. People, places, and things. You're definitely healing from some past hurts, right? And you know, also some of you may be fearing being alone, right? But sometimes you need that alone time so that you remember how you pull yourself out. You know what I mean? How you pull yourself out of the emotional rut, the stagnation. That's what it is. It's about how you do it, how you face your fears, how you own up or step up to the moment, you know, how you fight back. And it's a 4 related to Aries, also related to the death card, right? Yeah. Things can't be the way that they used to be, right? It's time to make new memories. And these new memories are going to be even better than the old ones because you've learned from your past mistakes. Moving on. Improvements. Emotional satisfaction. You know, doing what it takes, believing in yourself, staying encouraged, staying motivated, right? Finding purpose, finding pleasure in work, okay, and purpose, and it paying off too with the 6 of Pentacles being here, right? Relationships, it's time for some of them to kind of like be over. You know, all relationships have some kind of expiration date. You know, it could like literally be like when you die, you know what I mean? It could be, you know, because you outgrew someone, right? Maybe you moved to different places, or maybe, you know, school was over and you went to different schools, you know, whatever it is. You outgrow certain relationships. And it's now time for you to focus on what it is that you want to be and what you want to do, and to just kind of like be excited about new friendships and things like that that are coming into your life as you go through these new you know, these changes, these phases, this new chapter. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Hopefully that was good for you all. I'm going to be going in and reading after this. I need to get myself ready, apparently. All right, so thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. Comment on the video. Share the video. I think I already said that. Follow me on Instagram. It is Providence Tarot, and it is also NYC Kendrick. Yeah, pretty good. I will talk to you all later. Okay? If you'd like to get a reading with me, email providencetarotKendrick@gmail.com.